Hey there guys, the Last Bits here, reacting to lost bits of Five Nights at Freddy's media. That's gonna be good to learn about Five Nights at Freddy's history. Agreed,
Hey
Amy.
guys, and welcome back to another Lost Bits video right here on Tetrabit Gaming, the series where we explore some scrapped, unused, and unseen content in video games. Starting in the summer of 2014, the Five Nights at Freddy's series took YouTube by storm and has since spawned a number of sequels, books, and toys.
Indeed.
And just like many
One of the
other
most
games,
famous
the Five Nights at
franchises
Freddy's
out there.
series also has some content that is normally unseen or goes unused in the final release. So, albeit a bit late to the party, go grab your exotic butters, it's time to find some lost bits. Unfortunately, not every game in the series was developed equal, and as of the making of this video, no significant unused content has been found in Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator. Now with that out of the way, let's begin with the game that started it all. In the files for the first Five Nights at Freddy's, graphics can be found for an unused design for the cameras that appear on the monitor.
Oh.
It looks like initially, instead of just
that-
seeing the cameras numbered, the
that
player would
design
be
is
able to
actually
see the
rather
viewing direction of
good.
each camera and would also have a better idea of exactly where it was placed. If you look closely, you might also notice that in these early graphics, the location of some of the cameras are slightly different than in the final game. The backstage camera was facing towards the room from the door instead of the other way around. The Pirate Cove camera was closer to the West Hall instead of right in front of the curtains where Foxy hides.
Indeed,
And lastly, the
Tom.
camera in the supply closet was initially in the bottom right corner instead of the top left. Why these camera placements were altered remains unclear. It's also interesting to note that the camera in the kitchen, which is disabled in the final game and has been a point of mystery, does have a visible viewing angle, so perhaps at this time, this camera was still being considered for in-game use. Next up is an unused 5th level of the power usage meter.
Oh
Normally the
my.
most power the player can consume is 4 bars by closing both doors and either turning on a light or opening the camera. Since you can't turn on both lights at the same time, and opening the camera turns off any light if it's on, this 5th bar doesn't normally appear for long. That being said, due to a glitch, the 5th bar will appear for a split second if you open the camera while both doors are closed and a light is on. Whether or not this 5th bar would have had more use or meaning is still another mystery. A stickman graphic seen in early footage of the game can also be found unused in the
Why
game's
would that
files.
be in the game?
This stickman was meant to be seen in the transition screen between nights and would be used as a life counter. Initially, it looks like the player would have more than one life and would have to restart to night 1 upon getting a game over. To add to this, there is also an unused lives text that might have had the same purpose as the stickman. Since this text isn't even seen in early footage of the game, it was probably used even earlier in development as a sort of placeholder. This next one
I
is
didn't know
probably more well known, but it turns out that the scream used for the animatronics is actually just the start of a voice clip of a child screaming. Normally in the game, the sound cuts out after the first second, but the entire clip is actually about 5 seconds, and it's not any less creepy. Furthermore,
Yeah,
the scream for Golden Freddy is
Yeah, it's
actually the
rather
same
creepy.
file, just slower and more distorted. Again, in the game, only the first second is heard before it cuts out. Here's the sound clip in its entirety.
Jesus.
Alright, now moving along to Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Oddly enough, the Stickman and the Lives graphic also made their way into this game as well, in which they also go unused. This game also has an unused graphic that sort of looks like part of a crying skull. There's apparently an object called Mike, which was supposed to use this graphic, but it is never actually called in the game. There is also a full body sprite of the puppet, which through normal play is never fully seen. This sprite is apparently loaded just before
Well, it does
attacking
make
the
sense
player in
because
the
he has
office,
strings.
but is deleted as soon as the frame starts. Next is an unused empty toxicity meter. Based on parts of the game's code, apparently this meter would increase the longer the player wears the Freddy mask in the game. If the meter completely filled up, it would repeatedly flash red until it reached 0 again. This was obviously a method to deter the player from using the mask for too long. Just like in the first game, the full sound clip of the animatronic scream can be found. This time, however, it's only a second longer than what we hear in the final version.
Holy shit.
Moving along to Five Nights at Freddy's 3, and guess what? The Stickman and Lives graphics are back. Again.
Of course.
The creator of the series, Scott Cawthon,
So
must have had a
quite-
really hard time letting go
so
of these or
quite
something.
amazing
Additionally,
history,
there's
right,
also an
Sophie?
unused graphic for a button to seal the vent in the game. This was altered in the
seal
final
vent
release where
mechanic?
instead the player has to double click the
Maybe
vent
that's a bit
camera in
like-
order to seal it.
Maybe
Interestingly,
that's a bit
there is
like
also an
those.
unused graphic for a seventh night that might have been accessible at some point. In the final game, however, only 6 nights can be accessed. Since we only see the top half of Springtrap when he appears in front of the window, the lower half of his body is never normally seen. His walking animation is especially funny since the lower half is just motionless.
Oh my god.
Since we weren't meant to see his legs here, I guess it makes sense why Scott didn't feel the need to animate them. Next up, Five Nights at Freddy's 4, where Scott finally decided to get rid of the unused life counters. This game unfortunately doesn't have all too much unused content though. The first unused graphic here is that of an animated star. It is believed that at one point this star was to be used for the unlockable stars on the main menu. The other unused graphic is some unused text saying chapter, which doesn't match any of the other fonts used in the game. The font, however, did find its way into the RPG spin-off FNAF world. Maybe at one point, instead of saying how many days were left until the party, the background story would be divided into chapters. Now, moving along to Sister Location, the first unused image is that of Ballora being both shocked and lit up at the same time.
Jeez.
This obviously goes unused since doing both at the same time isn't possible. Next is an unused red tinted image of Circus Baby. This looks like it was probably an early placeholder for the game over screen.
Yeah, it does look
There is
rather
also an
creepy.
unused orange variation of the purple stars that you get for completing the game and the other modes. The next unused graphic is pretty weird. This smiley face, although unseen, is used during the ending cutscene. It is most likely just used as a reference point for placing the purple glowing eyes.
Oh, yeah.
And also, since the mouth is shown in 2 locations, it is likely that maybe at one point the animatronic stuffed protagonist's mouth was meant to move as well. And while we're on this topic, I don't know how true this is, but apparently the silhouette of the protagonist in the mirror is derived from Rick Astley's classic music video
Wait,
for
what?
Never Gonna Give You Up. I can definitely see
Why
some
am I not
similarity, but who
surprised?
knows? Also, Never Gonna Give You Up was released in 1987, which is the same year as the Bite of 87 event referenced in the series. Is this on purpose or just a coincidence? You be the judge. Sister Location also has an unused graphic of the mini-renas. From the lighting in this graphic, we can see that they don't have a typical endoskeleton like the other animatronics
Okay,
do.
that's just plain creepy.
And with all of the main series games out of the way, only the RPG spin-off FNAF World game remains. And oddly enough, this game has by far the most unused content. First off, there is an unused version of Brow Boy that can be found in the files of the game. Based on this version, instead of being one of the game's bosses, it looks like he was originally going to be just another regular enemy, similar to Ball Boy. Next up are 3 unseen stars. Although they are unseen off-screen, these stars are still unlocked by completing the game's 3 endings. This star reward system was used in pretty much every other game, so it's kind of weird why it was removed here. A turtle from another one of Scott's games, Slumberfish, has for some reason made its way into this
That's not a
game's
fish,
files.
that's a turtle.
Apparently at one point it was meant to be seen in the game's fishing minigame. An unused graphic for the also unused Toxic Song attack can also be found in the files. However, no additional coding for this attack is found anywhere else. Similarly, there is also an unused animation for finding an unused chip called Haunting. This chip would apparently summon Ghost Freddy to freeze an enemy. Just like with Toxic Song, although this graphic exists, no additional coding for it can be found. Up next is an unused voice acting clip.
Now I'm going to kick your ass! Wait, what? I can't
that's
say
rather
that in the
rude.
game.
Apparently this JJ voice clip was likely to have been used after Nightmare Chica's plane gets shot down in the game. Honestly, this clip almost sounds like an outtake from the voice actor who recorded this, rather than something that was meant to be used. Next up are some unused text strings. In each of the game's endings, hidden in the code, the following message can be seen. Well, congratulations, you beat a fictional monster in a fictional game. Bravo, big deal. Not your typical endgame message now, is it? Next is an unseen off-screen text showing the end along with the number 1. This suggests that maybe at one point the game would display which ending the player had completed. The last unused text string was intended to be used the first time Fredbear tells the player to find the clock. He would have said, "If you keep following him, you will only finish a story. There is something more important for you to do." Due to a programming error, this text is never actually seen.
Okay.
And lastly, and probably the most intriguing, is the box from Five Nights at Freddy's 4.
Oh yeah.
According to Scott Cawthon, this mysterious box was supposed to contain the pieces put together and was supposed to be opened in the game's Halloween update. But no one figured out the mystery in time to open it. Since then, the box has remained very mysterious, and Scott had put that some things are best left forgotten forever. Even though we still don't know what's inside the box, why it can be found off-screen in the subtunnel sections in FNAF World is beyond me. There is no coding found for the box anywhere in the game, so it was either just left there by accident, or it's a neat little Easter egg Scott left for snooping players to discover. And with that concludes this Lost Bits video on the Five Nights at Freddy's series, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to let me know what other games you'd like to see me cover on Lost Bits next. If you're new here and enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and check out my other Lost Bits videos by clicking on the card right here. And if you would like to stay even more up to date with me and the channel, you can also follow me over on my other social media pages, which will all be linked in the description below. And as always guys, thank you all so much for watching today and for all of your
You're very
amazing support.
Well, that was a very good video, Splits. Bye everyone.